See my life, my own son chased me out of his house, and now I'm just here suffering. I carried him in this womb for 9 months, fed him with my sweat, roasted corn, and washed people's clothes just to send him to school. I starved so he could eat, walked barefoot so he could wear shoes, and prayed every night. But who would have thought that the same son I carried on my back would one day
Let me make enough to feed my son. The smoke would rise gently into the morning air, mixing with the smell of frying oil and the chatter of early commuters. Her son, Emeka, was everything she had left in this world. Her husband had died when Emeka was only 6. Life after that became a daily struggle. Rent was late more times than she could count. There were days when they survived on Gary soaked with salt water and tears. But no matter how hard things got, Mama Emeka never gave up. She believed in one thing: education. She would say, "Even if I no get money, my pikin go get sense. Sense no dey spoil." So she worked, and worked, and worked some more. When Emeka turned 10, his mother began taking in laundry for the rich people who lived in Sirulere. She would wake as early as 4 a.m., wash all day, and come back home at night with cracked fingers, but always with a smile. Emeka would sometimes meet her at the junction and carry the heavy nylon bags for her. She would pat his head and say, "So he suppose be." One day, "E go be your turn to take care of me." He would grin and say, "No worry, Mama. I go buy you big house. You go rest." Well, those words were her fuel. Through thick and thin, she pushed him through school, paying fees with borrowed money, selling her best pots, and even pawning her old gold earrings to buy him textbooks. Neighbors mocked her sometimes. "Mama Emeka, this boy fit no remember you when he make ammo." She would laugh and reply, "No lie. My Emeka no be that kind pekin. He get good heart." And indeed, for a long time he did. Emeka was a bright boy, sharp, respectful, and ambitious. He won awards in secondary school and was loved by his teachers. When he gained admission into the University of Lagos to study business administration, Mama Emeka almost collapsed with joy. She threw a small Thanksgiving party that day. She couldn't afford much, just rice, stew, and Fanta for the neighbors, but she danced with tears in her eyes. "God done answer me," she kept saying. "My pekin done enter university." University life changed Emeka gradually. He began to mix with children of the wealthy, the kind who wore designer shoes and spoke English with fake accents. At first, he would call home every Sunday. "Mama, I dey fine. I miss your food." She would laugh proudly. "I go send small money for you this week." But later, the calls became shorter, then fewer. Sometimes when she sent him 3,000 naira from her small savings, he wouldn't even reply. "Maybe network no go," she would say, defending him. "School day make person busy." Still, she prayed for him every night. After graduation, Emeka got a job with a big logistics firm in Lekki Phase 1. When he called that evening to share the news, Mama Emeka screamed with joy. "I talk am. I know say God no go shame me." She went around the compound telling everyone, "My son done get job for Lekkio. My suffering done end." That week, she bought herself a new pair of slippers and even gave out free mwamwa to her neighbors. For her, that job wasn't just a blessing. It was a reward for years of pain. At first, Emeka would send her money every month. Sometimes 10,000 naira, sometimes 15,000 naira. He even promised to move her out of the old compound soon. But as his life changed, new friends, new environment, new lifestyle, his calls became colder. He started telling her to stop visiting his office. "Mama, you fit just call me a beg. My office no dey allow visitors anyhow." She would nod slowly and say, "No wahala, my son. I go wait." But she didn't know that behind the phone, Emeka was embarrassed by her. Embarrassed by her thick accent, her rapper, and her humble ways. Months later, Emeka got a promotion. He began earning well, dressing well, and living in a neat two-bedroom apartment at Ikejagra. He bought his first car, a small Toyota Camry. And that was when pride quietly moved in. He started hanging out with his colleagues at lounges in Victoria Island, posting pictures with captions like, "From nothing to something." And Grace took me from trenches to table. But the truth was, he forgot the person who raised him from the trenches. He stopped visiting Ajagunle entirely. When his mother called, he would sometimes silence the phone. If she pressed further, he'd reply, "Mama, abeg, I dey busy. I go call you later." But later never came. Still, Mama Emeka's love never faded. She would wake up each day and pray for him, lighting a candle by her bedside. "God, protect my son. I no get anybody for this world except him." Her neighbors noticed her loneliness. Mama Tawa, her closest friend, once told her, "You too dey praise that your boy. He go soon forget you finish, Mama." Emeka smiled faintly. "No matter what'n happen, Emeka go always be my son. Even if he forget me, God no, go forget am." One Saturday afternoon, she heard from one of the old neighbors that Emeka had thrown a small house party in his new apartment. The woman said she saw pictures on Facebook. Emeka laughing with his friends, bottles of wine on the table, everyone dressed fine. Mama Emeka's face lit up with excitement. "Ah, my son donde live good life. I go surprise him." That night, she prepared jollof rice, fried plantain, and goat meat, his favorite. She even borrowed 2,000 naira from Mama Tawa to buy fresh ingredients. The next morning, she took her small cooler, wore her best Ankara, and took a bus from Ajagunle to Ikeja. The driver kept glancing at her through the mirror. "Mama, you dey go visit your pekin?" She smiled proudly. "Yes, my son dey stay for that GRA side. He dey work for big company." She arrived after a long ride, tired but joyful. At the gate, she told the gateman, "Abeg, I be Emeka, Mama." "Tell him say I dey here." The man raised his brow. "You sure say he dey expect you?" She smiled. "No surprise. He go happy well." Well, minutes later, the gate opened. She entered carrying the cooler on her head and her handbag on one shoulder. As she reached his door, she could hear music and laughter from inside. She smiled again. "Ah, my pikin don invite plenty people. I go just drop small food for a makey no shame me." She knocked. Emeka opened the door and froze. "Mama," he said, eyes wide. "What are you doing here?" "I come see you, my pikin. I bring food. Jollof rice and dodo. You savisena your favorite." The room went silent. His friends stared, confused, some hiding laughter. "Mama, you tell me before na. You no suppose just show like this, but I be your mama now." "Abeg," he muttered. "This place no be for this kind village behavior." One of his friends snickered. "Guy, na your mama be this?" The laughter stung. His face turned red. "Mama, I say go home," he barked. When she didn't move fast enough, he pushed her aside. The cooler slipped from her hand, scattering rice and fried plantain across the polished tiles. A few grains stuck to his shoe. And then he kicked the cooler away. The sound echoed. The laughter died. Mama Emeka froze, tears gathering in her eyes. She looked at him, the same boy who once promised to build her a mansion, and whispered, "Emeka, so this na who you done become?" She turned slowly and left without another word. Outside, the world looked blurry through her tears. The jollof rice she made with love was now on the floor behind her, wasted, just like all her years of sacrifice. And as she walked down that quiet street, clutching her empty cooler, she whispered to herself, God, if this pain be lesson, make 'em deep, so that my son go never forget it. That evening, as Mama Emeka walked out of her son's compound, the sky over Ikeja began to change. Clouds gathered slowly, and the breeze that once carried laughter now felt cold against her skin. Each step she took away from Emeka's apartment echoed like heartbreak across the pavement. The security guard watched her pass through the gate, but said nothing. Even he knew what shame looked like. She walked for a long time, past bright cars, fine houses, and smiling strangers, until she reached the bus stop. She sat on a wooden bench, clutching her empty cooler like a wounded heart. A small boy selling gala walked by and said, Mama, you go buy gala? She smiled weakly. No, my pekin. I no get money. Her voice broke. Not because she couldn't afford gala, but because she had realized that the son she sacrificed everything for had just rejected her in front of the world. When she got home that night, the compound children ran to meet her. Mama Emeka, welcome. You bring rice for us? She forced a smile and said, No rice today, my children. Maybe next time. Then she entered her small room, shut the door, and dropped the cooler beside her bed. The rice stain on its cover glared at her like a wound that wouldn't heal. She sat down quietly, staring at the wall. The fan above her turned lazily, creaking like an old reminder of all the years gone by. In her hand was a framed picture. Emeka's graduation photo. He was smiling in that photo, holding his certificate proudly with her beside him in her old wrapper and cheap wig. Back then, he had hugged her and said, Mama, everything I am today, I owe to you. She traced his face in the frame with her finger. So now like this the end? She whispered. A tear rolled down, then another, and another. But she didn't wail. She didn't scream. She only whispered to the ceiling, God, I no fit curse my son. But please, teach him wetin I no fit teach make he understand wetin pride day 'cause days passed. Weeks crawled by. Mama Emeka stopped calling. She no longer sent messages or checked his Facebook. She buried her love under silence. Her neighbors noticed the change. Mama Emeka, you know dey laugh again, Mama Tawa said one morning. She smiled faintly. Laughter go come back one day. Instead of selling food like before, she started going to a small church at Ikorodu, where she had an old friend, Mama Nkichi. The church ran a small widows support group. There, Mama Emeka began helping to cook and counsel other women. She was quiet, gentle, and full of wisdom. Her words healed others, even when her own heart was still bleeding. When person will you love break your heart, she said one day to a crying widow, no go fight him. Just give your pain to God. He get way of turning pain to power. Those words weren't planned. They came from her wound. And the wound, slowly, became her weapon. Meanwhile, in another part of Lagos, Emeka's life was shining. Or so it seemed. His new promotion made him manager at the logistics firm. His salary doubled. He bought a sleek black Benz, started attending high-end parties, and even began dating a woman from a rich family. But as his external life grew brighter, his inside became darker. At night, he began having dreams. In each dream, he would see his mother standing silently, her eyes full of tears, holding that same cooler. She never spoke, just looked at him. He would wake up sweating, his chest pounding, whispering, Mama. He couldn't explain it, but peace had left him. Every time he laughed, it felt fake. Every success tasted empty. One Sunday morning, his phone rang. It was his office supervisor. Emeka, come to the office immediately. Something bad has happened. He rushed there, heart racing. When he arrived, the atmosphere was tense. His assistant had mistakenly wired a huge amount of company funds to a wrong account. "Who authorized this transaction?" The manager barked. "Emika, sir," the assistant replied nervously. Everything crashed from that moment. An internal investigation was launched. His accounts were frozen. Whispers filled the office. "He's involved in fraud.